Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1944 Cleveland Indians MLB baseball season. Again, the tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball. Home games in Cleveland were played at League Park on the east side of Cleveland and at Cleveland Municipal Stadium downtown. The tribe had a tough year in 1944. They finished in fifth place with a record of 72-82, winning percentage of .468, 17 games out of first. The first place team was the St. Louis Browns, who were 89-65, winning percentage of .578. This was the only time, the only pennant the St. Louis Browns ever won. Second place, the Detroit Tigers, 88-66, only a game out of first. Third place, the New York Yankees, 83-71. Fourth place, the Boston Red Sox, 77-77. Fifth place, the Cleveland Indians, 72-82. Sixth place, Connie Mack's Philadelphia Athletics, also 72-82. Seventh place, the Chicago White Sox, 71-83. And in eighth and last place, the Washington Senators, 64-90, winning percentage of .416, 25 games out of first. Now, there were some pretty low attendance games for the tribe in 1944. On September 20th, there was a game at League Park. Only 500 fans came to see the tribe play the Red Sox. And it was a real thriller. The tribe won that game 11-10 in 13 innings. The following day, September 21, only 650 fans came. Very low attendance. The tribe was never a contender in 1943 from beginning to end. Now, again, the Second World War was raging. Zeke Benura, who was a Major League Baseball player, he was in the military, and he played a very positive role for American troops in North Africa. He organized baseball teams and leagues for U.S. service members, which was a big help in keeping the morale up among the troops. Part of this was in Oran, Algeria. He organized the North African World Series, 44 teams and 20 ball fields, including Americans, Canadians, British, French, and Algerians. Also football games. On New Year's Day, 1944, he organized the Arab Bowl, and 10,000 troops who were fans came to see that. They had a camel and donkey race and a beauty contest involving the Women's Air Corps. And baseball historian John Klima wrote, Zeke Benura's war was making young soldiers feel better. He fought it with every ounce of his charisma. He wanted them to go home happy, not scared and not scarred and shattered. June 6, 1944 was D-Day, the Allied invasion of Normandy, France, the beginning of the land war against Nazi Germany. 3 million men were involved in this, under the leadership of General Dwight Eisenhower, who later became U.S. President. Americans, British, and Canadian troops, the largest naval invasion in history. Same day, Pete Gray, who only had one arm, lost an arm as a boy, playing minor league baseball for the Memphis Chicks, hit a home run, and he became the MVP in the Southern Association in the minor leagues. They tried to give him a courage award that he would not accept. He said, quote, "Boys, I can't fight, and there is no courage about me. Courage belongs on the battlefield." Paris, France was liberated from Nazi Germany in August, and American troops played baseball by the Eiffel Tower afterward. One of the things the Germans were doing, sending spies across the lines in American uniforms, Germans who could speak English. And to test these fellows, to see if they really were Americans, they'd ask the question, these fellows if Joe DiMaggio was still pitching for the Cubs. And they felt that if they were an American, they would really know the answer to that was a crazy question. Late 1944, MLB players were visiting American troops in Europe, and they included Frankie Frisch, Mel Ott, Bucky Walters, and Dutch Leonard. Tribe attendance in 1944 was 475,272, up slightly, up 37,000 from 43, for an average of 6,133 fans per game. I'm reading a fine book. The title is The Glory of Their Times, the story of the early days of baseball by the men who played it. by Lawrence S. Ritter, 1966. Chapters in the book include chapters about former Tribe players, including Stan Kovaleski, Smokey Joe Wood, Bill Wamsgans, Sad Sam Jones, and Willie Cam, and also a chapter on former Tribe general manager Hank Greenberg. Now the coaching staff, again, Del Baker was back. Baker was a Tribe coach in 1943 and 1944. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1960, when he was a coach for the Boston Red Sox. His last game was also Ted Williams' last MLB game. Del Baker. Bert Schotten was back, and Schotten was a Tribe coach between 1942 and 1945. Bert Schotten. George Suss was a player coach, did a little catching. Suss batted .230 with 14 hits. He scored 3 runs, had a double, 4 RBIs, 2 walks in 29 games. Suss was a Tribe coach between 1941 and 1940. He was a player coach between 1941 and 1944, and a Tribe coach without playing between 1945 and 1949. George Suss. Now again, the Tribe player manager in 1944 was Lou Boudreau, who was also the starting shortstop. Boudreau had a tremendous year as a hitter. He batted .327 with 191 hits. 91 runs scored, 45 doubles, wow, 5 triples, 3 home runs, 67 RBIs, 11 stolen bases, 73 walks in 150 games. Boudreau was a Tribe player between 1931 and 1938 and 1941, and Tribe player manager between 1942 and 1950. He won the batting title for the American League in 1943 with that .327 average. Boudreau said, wrote, "By the time the 1944 season was in full swing, I was able to leave the game at the ballpark, not take it home with me, if we lost, which was good, because we lost a lot that year." Boudreau won the batting title by getting a hit in his last at-bat of the season. He set a fielding record for shortstops, 978. And he also had a record 134 double plays participated in by a shortstop. Lou Boudreau. Buddy Rosar was the catcher. Rosar batted .263 with 87 hits. He scored 29 runs, 9 doubles, 3 triples, 30 RBIs, a stolen base, 34 walks in 99 games. Rosar was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1944. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1951. Buddy Rosar. Mickey Rocco was at first base. Rocco batted .266 with 174 hits, 87 runs, 29 doubles, 7 triples, 13 home runs, 70 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 56 walks in 154 games. And Rocco was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1946. Mickey Rocco. Ray Mack was at second base. Mack batted .232 with 66 hits, 24 runs scored, 15 doubles, 3 triples, 29 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 28 walks in 83 games. And Mack was with Cleveland from 1938 to 1946. Ray Mack. Ken Keltner was at third base. He had a fine year. He batted .295 with 169 hits, 74 runs scored, 41 doubles, 9 triples, 13 home runs, 91 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 53 walks in 149 games. Keltner was with Cleveland from 1937 to 1944, and from 1946 to 1949. The following year, 1945, he was in the U.S. Navy and missed that season. Lou Boudreau said this, quote, "Nobody hustled more than Ken Keltner. If he hit the ball back to the pitcher, he would run as hard as he could to first base, even though he was a sure out." Ken Keltner. Pat Seary was in left field. Seary batted .234 with 80 hits. He scored 39 runs, 16 doubles, 15 home runs, 39 RBIs, 19 walks, and he struck out 99 times in 101 games. Seary was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1948. Bob Dolgan, Cleveland sports writer, wrote, quote, "If Pat Seary had been a gambler, he would either have broken the bank at Monte Carlo or gone home wearing a barrel. He would either fan or hit the long ball. The fans loved the stout Irishman who stood 5'9" and weighed 230 pounds. Fans loved the way Seary strode into the batter's box, full of optimism." Sports writer Ed McCauley wrote, quote, He could hit a ball with more sheer line drive force than anyone in the history of the game. His friends numbered in the thousands, and his critics in the tens of thousands, but you couldn't stay mad at him. Pat Siri. Horace Hockett was in center field. Hockett batted .289 with 132 hits. He scored 47 runs, 29 doubles, 5 triples, a home run, 50 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 35 walks in 124 games. Hockett was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1944, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1945. Horace Hockett. Roy Cullenbine was in right field. Cullenbine batted .284 with 162 hits. He scored 98 runs, 34 doubles, 5 triples, 16 home runs, 80 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 87 walks, and 154 games. Fine year for Roy Cullenbine. Cullenbine was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1945. Roy Cullenbine. Now, the bench players included Rusty Peters, who played some second base. Peters batted .223 with 63 hits. He scored 23 runs, 13 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 24 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 15 walks in 88 games. And Peters was with Cleveland from 1940 to 1944 and in 1946. The following year, in 1945, Peters was in the U.S. Army and missed the baseball season, participating in the Second World War. Rusty Peters. Merrill Hogue played some outfield. Hogue batted .285 with 79 hits. Scored 33 runs, 9 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 27 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 25 walks in 67 games. Hogue was born in 1908 in Davis, California, and died in 1971 in High Springs, Florida at age 63. For his career, he batted .271 with 28 home runs and 401 RBIs. Hogue played for the New York Yankees, St. Louis Browns, Chicago White Sox, and Cleveland Indians between 1931 and 1945. He was an All-Star in 1939 with the Browns. He won 3 World Series titles in 1932, 37, and 38 with the Yankees. In 1936, he missed time because of a blood clot in the brain as the result of an outfield collision with Joe DiMaggio. Hogue hit a home run, which was the first run in the final game of the 1937 World Series won by the Yankees. On June 6, 1934, Hogue had 6 hits in one game in a 15-3 victory against the Red Sox for the Yankees. He was the last Yankee to accomplish that until Johnny Damon in 2008. Hogue died from an emphysema attack at age 63. His great-nephews, Max Brock Stassi, Max Brock Stassi is a current MLB player. Hogue played in the minor leagues for the Sacramento Senators. Merrill Hogue. Paul O'Day played some outfield. O'Day batted .318 with 55 hits. He scored 25 runs, 9 doubles, 13 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 23 walks in 76 games. O'Day also did a little pitching. He had no decisions and an ERA of 2.08. 3 games, 4 in the third innings pitched, and 1 earned run allowed. O'Day was born in 1920 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1978 in Cleveland at age 58. For his career, he batted .272 with 1 home run and 34 RBIs. His career was just with the Cleveland Indians from 1944 to 1945. He went to Case Western Reserve University. In 1940, in spring training with the Tribe, he was hit by a foul ball in the right eye and became blind in that eye. So in 1944, he was playing with only one good eye. He was a first baseman, not pitcher, in his career. He was with the Tribe in the minor. He was a Tribe manager in the minors from 1947 to 1960, and a Tribe scout till the end of his life. In the minor leagues, Paul O'Day played for the Cedar Rapids Raiders, Charleston Senators, Enterprise Boll Weevils, Fargo Moorhead Twins, the Flint Arrows, Flint Gems, Fort Smith Indians, Milwaukee Brewers, Portsmouth Cubs, Toledo Mud Hens, and the Wilkes-Barre Barons. Paul O'Day. Jeff Heath played some outfield. Heath batted .331 with 50 hits. He scored 20 runs, 5 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, 33 RBIs, 18 walks in 60 games. And Heath was with Cleveland from 1936 to 1945. Jeff Heath. Norm Schluter was a spare catcher. Schluter batted .123 with 15 hits. He scored 2 runs, 4 doubles, 11 RBIs, 12 walks in 49 games. Schluter was born in 1916 in Belleville, Illinois, and died in 2004 in Belleville at age 88. For his career, he batted .186 with 26 RBIs. Schluter played for the Chicago White Sox between 1938 and 1939 and the Cleveland Indians in 1944. Norm Schluter. Jimmy Grant played some second base. Grant batted .273 with 27 hits. He scored 12 runs, 4 doubles, 3 triples, a home run, 12 RBIs, a stolen base, 11 walks in 61 games. Grant was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1944, and this was the end of his MLB career. Jimmy Grant. Jim McDonald was another spare catcher. He batted .233 with 10 hits. He scored 5 runs, 4 RBIs, 4 walks in 20 games. McDonald was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1945. Jim McDonald. Russ Lyon was another spare catcher. Lyon batted .182 with 2 hits and 11 at-bats. He scored a run, had a walk in 7 games. Lyon was born in 1913 in Ball Ground, Georgia, and died in 1975 at age 62. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1944. Russ Lyon. Hank Ruskowski was another catcher. Ruskowski batted .375 with 3 hits and 8 at-bats. He scored a run, had an RBI in 3 games. Ruskowski was born in 1925 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 2000 in Cleveland at age 74. For his career, he batted .238 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs. He played for the Cleveland Indians from 1944 to 1945 and in 1947. He also played in the minor leagues from 1944 to 1954, a total of 298 games in the minors. In the minors, he played for the Baltimore Orioles, Burlington Flints, Columbia Reds, Dayton Flyers, Granby Red Sox, Little Rock Travelers, St. Hyacinth Saints, Trois-Rivières Royals, and the Wilkes-Barre Barons. Hank Ruskowski. Steve Biras played some second base. Biras batted .1,000. He batted twice and had 2 hits, 2 RBIs in 2 games. Biras was born in 1922. That's a lot of 2s. He also played second base in East St. Louis, Illinois, and died in 1965 in St. Louis, Missouri at age 43. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1944. In his first MLB at-bat, he had a single off of 1944 MVP Hal Newshouser of Detroit. His fielding average was .667. He had 1 error, 1 putout, and 1 fielding assist. Steve Biras. Jim Devlin was another catcher. Devlin batted once, did not have a hit in 1 game. Devlin was born in 1922 in Plains, Pennsylvania, and died in 2004 at age 81. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1944. Jim Devlin. Now the pitching staff, Bob Feller was the ace of the staff, but he was not. Again, he did not play for Cleveland. He was in the U.S. Navy in 1944 and World War II. In January of 1944, Feller and the battleship Alabama was involved in the invasion of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean. In February, he was involved with the fighting at Truk, Tinian, Saipan, and Guam in Micronesia. In April, he was involved in fighting off of New Guinea and also in the June invasion of Saipan and the Battle of the Philippine Sea. He also was involved in August in the invasion of Guam, Palau, and Yap, and the October invasion of the Philippines, the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history. Now, during this, getting into the last year of the war, there were kamikaze attacks, which were really dangerous because these Japanese airplanes were flying right into American ships, which could cause explosions and blow up the whole ship. In December of 1944, there was a savage typhoon that Feller lived through, and one of the men on his ship was lost, washed overboard by a giant wave. Bob Feller pitched for the Tribe from 1936 to 1941, and from 1945 to 1956, and was a goodwill ambassador for the Tribe till the end of his life. Bob Feller. Now, the ace of the staff who actually pitched for Cleveland was Steve Gromack, who was 10-9 with an ERA of 2.56, 35 games, 21 starts, 12 complete games, 2 shutouts, a save, 203 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 115 strikeouts. Gromek batted .260 with 19 hits. He scored 11 runs, had a double, a triple, 7 RBIs, a stolen base, 6 walks, struck out 13 times in 44 games. And Gromek was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1953. Steve Gromek. Mel Harder was 12-10 with an ERA of 3.71, 30 games, 27 starts, 12 complete games, 2 shutouts, 196 and a third innings pitched, and 64 strikeouts. Harder batted .216 with 16 hits. He scored 9 runs, had 3 doubles, 6 RBIs, and struck out 19 times. Harder was a player for the Tribe between 1928 and 1947, and a Tribe coach from 1948 to 1963. He threw out the first pitch at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in 1932, and he threw out the last ceremonial pitch at the stadium in 1993. Mel Harder. Al Smith was 7-13 with an ERA of 3.42, 28 games, 26 starts, 7 complete games, a shutout, 181 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 44 strikeouts. Smith batted .156 with 10 hits. He scored a run, had a double, 7 RBIs, 3 walks, and struck out 13 times. Smith was with Cleveland from 1940 to 1945. Al Smith. Allie Reynolds was 11-8 with an ERA of 3.30, 28 games, 21 starts, 5 complete games, a shutout, a save, 158 innings pitched, and 84 strikeouts. Reynolds batted .123 with 7 hits. He scored 2 runs, had 2 doubles, an RBI, a walk, and struck out 9 times in 41 games. And Reynolds was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1946. Allie Reynolds. Jim Bagby Jr. was 4-5 with an ERA of 4.33, 13 games, 10 starts, 2 complete games, 79 innings pitched, and 12 strikeouts. Bagby batted .226 with 7 hits. He scored 2 runs, had a home run, and RBI in 14 games. And Bagby was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1945. Jim Bagby Jr. Vern Kennedy was 2-5 with an ERA of 5.03, 12 games, 10 starts, 2 complete games, 59 innings pitched, and 17 strikeouts. Kennedy batted .087 with 2 hits and 23 at-bats. He scored a run, struck out twice in 15 games. And Kennedy was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1944, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1945. Vern Kennedy. Joe Heving was in the bullpen, a relief pitcher. Heving was 8-3 with an ERA of 1.96. Wow, 63 games, only 1 start, 10 saves, 119 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 46 strikeouts. Heving batted .182 with 4 hits and 22 at-bats. He scored a run, had an RBI, and struck out 5 times. Heving was with Cleveland from 1937 to 1938, and from 1941 to 1944. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1945. In 1944, Heving was the only grandfather in MLB. He led American League pitchers in appearances with 63. He was one of the first relief specialists. And Heving said this in 1970, quote, "In those days, relievers were guys who weren't good enough to start. Nobody liked being a reliever, but I did." Joe Heving. Ed Kleeman was 11-13 with an ERA of 3.38, 47 games, 19 starts, 5 complete games, a shutout, 5 saves, 178 and a third innings pitched, and 44 strikeouts. They called him Specs because he wore glasses. Kleeman batted .105 with 6 hits. He scored a run, had 3 RBIs, 4 walks, and struck out 18 times. And Kleeman was with Cleveland from 1943 to 1948. Ed Kleeman. Ray Pote was 4-8 with an ERA of 5.13, 36 games, 6 starts, a complete game, a save, 80 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 40 strikeouts. Pote batted 17 times, did not have a hit. He scored a run, had an RBI, a walk, and struck out 8 times. Pote was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1944, so this was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1949. Ray Pote. Paul Calvert was 1-3 with an ERA of 4.56, 35 games, 4 starts, 77 innings pitched, and 31 strikeouts. Calvert batted .267 with 4 hits and 15 at-bats. He had a triple and RBI and struck out 3 times. Calvert was with Cleveland from 1942 to 1945. Paul Calvert. Hal Klein was 1-2 with an ERA of 5.75, 11 games, 6 starts, a complete game, 40 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 13 strikeouts. Klein batted .143 with 2 hits and 14 at-bats. He struck out once in 14 games. Klein was born in 1923 in St. Louis, Missouri, and died in 1957 in St. Louis at age 34. For his career, he was 1-2 with an ERA of 5.48 and 18 strikeouts. He pitched for the Cleveland Indians from 1944 to 1945, and in the minor leagues for the Nashville Vols. Hal Klein. Earl Henry, they called him Hook, was 1-1 with an ERA of 4.58. 2 games, both starts, a complete game, 17 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 5 strikeouts. Henry batted 5 times, did not have a hit. He walked once, struck out once in 4 games. Henry was born in 1917 in Roseville, Ohio, and died in 2002 at age 85. For his career, he was 1-4 with an ERA of 5.03 and 15 strikeouts. And his MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians from 1944 to 1945. Earl Henry. Mike Namack had no decisions and an ERA of 9.69, 7 games, 13 innings pitched, and 4 strikeouts. Namack batted once and struck out. He was with Cleveland from 1939 to 1940, and from 1943 to 1944. This was the end of his MLB career. Mike Namack. Bill Bonas was 0-1 with an ERA of 7.71, 2 games, a start, 7 innings pitched, and 1 strikeout. They called him Lefty. Presumably he was a left-handed pitcher. He batted 3 times, did not have a hit, struck out twice in 2 games. Bonas was born in 1923 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1977 at age 53. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1944. Bill Bonas. And finally, Red Embry was 0-1 with an ERA of 13.50, 3 games, 1 start, 3 1/3 innings pitched, and 4 strikeouts. Embry did not bat. Embry was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1942 and from 1944 to 1947. Red Embry. After the regular season, the World Series was played. The 1944 World Series, the National League champions St. Louis Cardinals defeated the American League champions St. Louis Browns 4-2 in all St. Louis World Series. All games were played at Sportsman's Park in St. Louis, the stadium which both the Browns and Cardinals played in. This was the third and final time all World Series games in a year were played in one park. The others were 1921 and 1922 at the Polo Grounds when the Yankees and Giants shared that stadium and both played there. Hall of Famers in the 1944 World Series included umpire Bill McGowan for the Cardinals, Billy Southworth, the manager, and Stan Musial. Enos Slaughter was in the military. Now the Browns had no Hall of Famers on their team, and this was their only time in the World Series and their only American League title. By 1954, the Browns had moved to Baltimore and became the Baltimore Orioles. The manager of the Browns was Luke Sewell, former Tribe catcher and former Tribe coach. And after the World Series, Luke Sewell and other MLB players traveled to India, Burma, and China and meeting with American servicemen to talk about the World Series and show a World Series film to try to raise the morale among American troops in India, Burma, and China fighting the Japanese. Hank Greenberg also came and participated in a tour of India, Burma, and China. Now, the MVPs for 1944, the American League, Hal Newhouser of the Detroit Tigers, and in the National League, Marty Marion of the St. Louis Cardinals. So that's the story of the 1944 Cleveland Indians. They had kind of a tough year, but they were our guys. They played for us. God bless the fellas who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1944 and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Spanish-American War veterans, First World War veterans, and Second World War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue Electricity, Severance Hall Stalwarts, Cleveland Museum of Art enthusiasts, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum rebels. Christmas Story House, Happy People. Museum of Contemporary Art, Maniacs. Cleveland Botanical Garden, Goers. Old Arcade Admirers. Playhouse Square, Sears. Settlers Landing Park, Purists. Western Reserve Historical Society, Wonders. First Energy Stadium, Friends. Progressive Field, Pals. Quicken Loans Arena, Enthusiasts. Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Pioneers. Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, Gladiators, and Fusion Rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. Before you know it, it will be April 1, 2019, opening day in Cleveland for the Tribe. This is our year. Go Tribe. You might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History, with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.